got the hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number two. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Locker Room Breakdown. This is Monday night, and I am OMD. It is Monday night, 7 p.m. It is time for the Locker Room Breakdown, the show where we break down everything that happened last week and everything we are looking forward to tonight here at Turnbuckle Studios. Join us at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Raw Patrol, where myself, Chris Best, and others will break everything down. But ladies and gentlemen, we had quite the Raw last Monday. And wow, this started off hot and it ended at the same level. We kicked off the show with the Masked Men running around the ring, in through the ring, and one of them grabbed the microphone, pulled it off, and it was Seth freaking Rollins, who came out to say he created the Vision and he will be the one to unalive the Vision. Paul Heyman came out very, very disheveled. What a testament to this man, to the loyalty, to what Paul Heyman shows on the screen for everybody. I was blown away. Mr. Best was blown away, as was Carl Carafel, saying the Oscar for the best actor goes to. Seth Rollins then said, "You are the worst human being I've ever met, and I'm going to cut you out like the cancer you are." Paul Heyman didn't really say a lot. He said, F-A-F-O. F-A-F-O. F-A-F-5. And we got the beast. Brock Lesnar showed up in the opening segment. Great tease. I thought potentially we were heading to Brock Lesnar doing Paul Heyman and the Vision's job for them to be the guy to take on Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. As Brock Lesnar came out, all of the masked men went at him at various points around the ring, eating suplexes, all of that. Brock Lesnar got in the ring. A couple more guys ate suplexes. A couple of guys got tossed. A couple ate F5s. And Seth and Brock stared each other down. Seth actually backed off, and the lights go out. And we heard the Nigerian war drums, and out comes Obafemi. This was honestly not where I was anticipating everybody to go. We'd been hearing about it. This was not what I was anticipating. But as Obafemi made his way to the ring and then got into the ring in his gear, he and Brock Lesnar got into it. No, they didn't. Sorry. Seth Rollins looked like he was coming out of the corner, and Brock Lesnar looked like a bit of a trapped animal because he had Seth Rollins in the corner, And as Brock turned and looked at Seth, Seth backed off again. And Brock walked in to a glory bomb from Obafemi. And what a moment, what a shock that was to see Brock Lesnar manhandled just like that. Obafemi then proceeded to put his boot on Brock Lesnar's chest, pointing at him and pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Obafemi opens the show by answering Brock Lesnar's open challenge for WrestleMania. What a way to jumpstart Raw. This was pure, unadulterated chaos, and it set the tone for the night. A match that I am intrigued by then came up next, and I was wondering where they were going to go, if this is going to even continue to WrestleMania or beyond, as we had El Grande Americano Original versus El Grande Nuevo. That's right, the two El Grande Americanos went 1-on-1. What a match this was, folks. The technical stylings between both of these men, combined with their lucha abilities, was just fantastic. We wondered if the original was going to have anybody available to assist him, which he did not. We did have Rayo and Bravo at ringside there to cause some chaos. And El Grande was able to slide the steel plating into his mask, hits the headbutt, and El Grande Nuevo picks up the victory. Funny how the heel in this situation is definitely the more over of the two. El Grande Original did not, I won't say he was not feeling the love. He was getting some reaction, but the crowd firmly behind El Grande Nuevo. So where do we go from here? Do we go to a six-man tag? Can the original El Grande Americano find some backup? Or do we go and continue on with this? Do we have to go? And I think we have to, actually, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go to that mask versus mask match, with obviously the loser getting unmasked and revealing their true identity. Now, admittedly, I like the idea a little bit more of both of those men getting unmasked, and then a new faction war breaks out. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am hoping that the original El Grande Americano can recruit two other luchadors who are American-made, so to speak, to take on El Grande Nuevo and Los Americanos Rayo and Bravo. And then you get both teams getting unmasked. And then you go to another faction versus faction war. That, for me, still builds long-term stories, carries this out even longer, and gives these two solid luchadors, technical wrestlers, however you want to look at them, something to do, and potentially work them into a solid mid-card feud. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, this match caught me a little bit off guard for the placement because I thought that this match was going to be the main event of the show. We had AJ Lee defending her Women's Intercontinental Championship against Bayley. And I'm going to give this one the match of the night, to be honest with you. This was a brilliant match put on by two of the absolute best. Your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler, AJ Lee, against the woman who will do just about anything to help her opponent in Bayley. This was back and forth. This was reversal for reversal, counter for counter, move for move. This was absolutely incredible. Eventually, AJ Lee pulled off the victory. There was no outside interference, which actually shocked me, but I'm glad we didn't get it. It was not something that the match needed. We didn't see the sign of sportsmanship between AJ and Bayley after the match, but the respect was there. And it was just something that wasn't shown to us necessarily, as they did go to a commercial break during AJ's triumphant exit. When we came back from that commercial break, we saw Becky Lynch attacking AJ Lee at the top of the ramp, throwing her into the LED trons, all of that. This was something that should have been initially shown on screen. They should have broken away from commercial to come back to this. But where do we go? Are we going to go to AJ Lee and Becky at WrestleMania in that title rematch? I've said it before, this rivalry does not need the Women's Intercontinental Championship, but it does have it. But I think if you're going to do that, you've got to go with some sort of a stipulation to put an end to this. Whether it's an I Quit match, whether it's last woman standing, falls count anywhere, something of that nature. You need to put this in there now. Yes, AJ Lee has a significant hold on victories over Becky Lynch. But we need some finality to this. This has been going on now since September, and now it needs the end of it. I need the finality to this. Let them both move on. If you have to, and I know WWE have a big thing on keeping families together on their respective brands. But maybe it's time to move somebody to SmackDown. Maybe it's time for Becky to go and face new challenges, much like we're seeing with Rhea Ripley. It's time to get some new blood in that Raw Women's division and in that Intercontinental Championship division. I would love to see Roxanne Perez be able to challenge for it, Lyra Valkyria be able to challenge for it again. So I am intrigued to see where we go from here. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back with some more from the review. But ladies and gentlemen, I do want you to check out how you can help us.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, a potential collaboration, or just to help us out behind the scenes, turnbucklestudios.org is the place to be for all your Turnbuckle affiliation program needs. Hit the join button, send us your credentials via email, tell us how you can help us, how we can help you, and we will sit down as a collective and figure out the right fit. All of this and so much more, turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle affiliation program. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we got a bit of a surprise match. Penta, again, becoming a fighting champion since winning the Intercontinental Championship 2 weeks ago from Dom Mysterio, went to put on another mystery defense. Now, as Penta was heading to the ring, we saw Adam Pearce talking with JD McDonough. I was believing it. Others were believing it, that we all thought it was going to be JD coming out to get that Intercontinental Championship match. It was not. It was Dragon Lee. And again, ladies and gentlemen, the lucha stylings of these men, and I'm going to admit it here and now, I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, you're hearing it. I was wrong. I have referred to Penta as an enhancement talent with an entrance. But now, over the last couple of weeks, now that they have finally done something with him, for him, I am growing even more in my fandom of Penta. I was always a fan. It was just the booking that I wasn't a fan of, and it didn't lead me to believe in a whole lot for him. What more can be said about these two luchadors going at it? This was a lucha match built on respect. There was, again, no interference, no mask versus mask, none of that garbage. It wasn't an attempt. These two threw down. This was momentum traded back and forth. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, it is Penta that hits the destroyer, wins the match, and retains the Intercontinental Championship. Now, I'm big on this match because, yes, they have done something finally with Penta. But as we have discussed here throughout this recent run of Dragon Lee on WWE television, he's being able to showcase a lot more of what he is able to do. And we're not seeing him relegated to main event or over in AAA, where, quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see Dragon Lee win a title. But I like this because you are starting to capitalize and you are starting to try and build that Latin American audience to have them ready for when Rey Mysterio, who is now injured, retires. Where do we go from here for both of these men? Well, we're going to find out something for Penta a little bit later on in the show, but where do you go with Dragon Lee? I do not want to see him go back to face Gunther again. Is Dragon Lee another guy that maybe needs that change of scenery and be able to go and be a guy to challenge Carmelo Hayes on SmackDown in that US Open Challenge? I look forward to that because I could see Dragon Lee and Hayes, Dragon Lee and Dragunov, Dragon Lee and Rey Fenix. Yes, I know it's Penta's brother, and they all have history together, but I am all for it. Do you go to a Dragon Lee versus Dom? Do you go to Dragon Lee versus JD? I want to keep Dragon Lee away from the Judgment Day. We've already seen him do that feud when he was part of the LWO, when the LWO was a thing really on Raw. We did go backstage as well, and we heard Paul Heyman then talking to Logan Paul and Austin Theory and telling them that their focus needs to be on the Usos. It cannot be on Seth Rollins. It has to be on the Usos, who have been sticking their nose into Vision business. And then even Logan Paul said, you know what? I don't care. When it comes to Seth Rollins, I want him. What are we going to do? Are we going to go to the Vision versus the Usos on one night of WrestleMania, Logan Paul versus Seth, or Austin Theory versus Seth on another night of Mania? Where do you go with this? Again, we will discuss that in just a little bit. On to what was perhaps the most predictable match of the evening, as we went to Maxine Dupri and Natty again. Ever since Natty has unleashed this new persona on the WWE, when she said Natalya elevates, Natty decimates, she brought the low-key legend, she brought the fighter. It has only been with Maxine. Now, we've seen this match go to a no contest and get thrown out. We've seen Natty win via a ref stoppage when she knocked Maxine out on the outside. This time we got a little bit better, but again, something that needs to be brought to an end. Maxine got in a little bit of offense, but this was Natty literally showing why she is the last heart standing, so to speak. Natty wins after her discus forearm and a sharpshooter, forcing Maxine to tap out. This needs some finality to it. Maybe we need to get Natty moved into an upper echelon, maybe facing some heavier hitters, so to speak, in the women's division. But keep her on her own. Do not try and incorporate her into other feuds. Don't stick her into Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. Don't stick her into Raquel Rodriguez, though I would love to see that match one-on-one. But maybe let's find somebody who can go just as hard, just as physical with Natty. Maybe you go to a Natty versus Ivy Nile match. That is something I would like to see. Maybe you go to a Natty versus a Lyra Valkyria, because you can get that technical prowess from both women. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what I would like to see. But for now, we need to bring Natty and Maxine to an end. We then had an attempted interview with SmackDown's Randy Orton. But Randy was on the phone with somebody and he said, no, I am not going to give an interview right now. But I will tell you this, I am a killer. And I was just on the phone with somebody who reminded me of just who I am and just what I'm capable of. That was it. And he said he was going to explain his actions this past Friday on SmackDown. But ladies and gentlemen, that was it. Very, very cryptic from Randy Orton. He didn't divulge who he was talking to. I know the big name that is out there. It's the name that I thought of even before I read the reports. Mr. Best, a good evening to you, my brother. Thank you for stopping in. Always, always appreciated. And then backstage again, we see Grayson Waller and Kofi Kingston talking about Xavier Woods, his injury, and being out. And they're interrupted by Danhausen, who was petitioning to join the New Day. Both Grayson Waller and Kofi were trying to be respectful in saying, no, we're not looking for a new member of the New Day. We don't believe in your voodoo. And then Danhausen looks and he goes, well, then you are. Kofi pulls Grayson Waller in front of him for cursed. Grayson and Kofi then start to discuss it, and Danhausen stops them both and does the "you are cursed, you are cursed," which was an absolutely hilarious, brilliantly written comedic moment for the show. Despite everything that had been going on, this was masterful. Then we move on to our main event match of the evening, which, again, non-title. It was Stephanie Vicaire versus Raquel Rodriguez with Liv Morgan in her corner, which actually caught me a little bit off guard. I figured Raquel was going to say, stay in the back, let me do this on my own. We had heard earlier from Liv addressing the Finn Balor excommunication, and she named Raquel the king of the Judgment Day. So I can understand now why she was out there, and she was out there to create a distraction. And this match, again, the ladies, they just continue to bring it each and every week and each and every night that they are out there. This was Stephanie Vicaire's wrestling versus Raquel Rodriguez power. This was the speed and agility of Stephanie Vicaire versus the size and strength of Raquel. And again, it was a back and forth match. Can't deny that. However, when Liv Morgan made her presence felt, Io Sky made her presence felt, and it's understandable because Raquel, after getting pinned by Io in the gauntlet for the Intercontinental Championship #1 contender the week before, took her frustrations out on Io Sky and fed her to the pit bull known as Ivy Nile, because Ivy was able to run in, promptly just pin Io. So are we headed to an Io versus Raquel match at Mania, or are we going to go to that match here tonight? We're going to find that out in just a little bit, but we do have one more segment to talk about from last week. And we once again had a face-to-face with Roman Reigns and CM Punk. This, again, a masterclass in a promo battle. If anybody out there wants to learn how to cut promos, watch this one. This should teach you just about everything. They made it personal. They both tried to get into each other's heads, with CM Punk telling Roman, last week I got what I deserved. Right message, wrong messenger. They traded verbal sparring, but it was when Roman tried to leave And CM Punk blocked his path and said, you know what? You leave when I let you leave. And Punk went on a tirade about, because Roman has been calling Punk by his government name. And Punk said, well, I could call you Joe, but that would disrespect a real Samoan whom I love very much. In the end, we had Punk then end up popping Roman Reigns in the mouth, and Roman was left in the same position that Punk was the week before. Both of them had their respective smiles on their faces, knowing that they're both in the other's heads, knowing that this is now a true war of attrition and a battle of mind games. Where do I see this going come WrestleMania? I think you are going to see a true masterclass. And I think that since both men know how to be the babyface, both men know how to be the heel. With CM Punk, as far as I'm concerned, being the most over WWE superstar right now, I can't see it. I do see Roman Reigns going back to a full-blown heel once again come WrestleMania. And again, we go backstage and we get Bayley and Lyra Valkyria being confronted by the Kabuki Warriors, with Asuka saying, how dare you lose my Intercontinental Championship match? And building. Where do we go with that? We're going to find out here momentarily. This is going to be very, very intriguing. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be right back with tonight's preview of Monday Night Raw. But right now, I want you to check out all of the programming we have going on for you throughout the week here each and every night at Turnbuckle Studios.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we go TNA as we brace for Impact at 9 p.m. On Fridays, join us for the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later that night, we have the Borsnest at 8 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day. And please visit turnbucklestudios.org.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our programming for you each and every night of the week. And now we want you to meet the team and the hosts behind each and every one of those shows at turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Head over to the host section, meet the team. Myself, Chris Best, Chris Parrish, Bubba Duke, and Carl Carafel. Click on each of our names, get our socials, and watch our latest weekly live episodic shows, including this one, which will be up in just a little while. All of this and so much more at turnbucklestudios.org. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on to tonight. And again, we have an action-packed, star-studded show. We are going to get a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship as Penta will defend once again against Dirty Dom Mysterio. Does this lay out Penta's path for WrestleMania? Do we see Finn Balor return because of after being excommunicated from the Judgment Day to cost Dom or at least distract him? Do we get a Danhausen segment in there? After all, he was the one who cursed the Judgment Day and Dom Mysterio just a few weeks ago to cause Dom the Intercontinental Championship. This is going to be very, very intriguing. I think we are headed to Finn Balor and Dom Mysterio at WrestleMania. Do we get all three of them in an Intercontinental Championship match with Penta? Is this the way this plays out? I don't think Finn and Dom needs the Intercontinental Championship for WrestleMania. I think that Finn and Dom, just the personality, just the pride is all that's needed. Could we just hear from Finn Balor? Could we hear from the Demon for WrestleMania? Is that where this goes? Ladies and gentlemen, I am intrigued to find out, and we will find out very, very shortly. Javon Evans and Grayson Waller. Despite Kofi Kingston's recent attempts to recruit Javon Evans into the New Day, give him that backing, give him that support, Javon has turned them down. But what I like about this match, and yes, Javon is a young man whose star is on the rise, and I put it, by the end of this year, he will be in that Intercontinental title picture if he's not already the Intercontinental Champion. What I am excited for in this situation is the fact that we are getting Grayson Waller in action for the first time in months. You want to talk about underutilized people? This man is fantastic both in the ring and on the mic. I need the Grayson Waller effect, and I need the Grayson Waller rub here on Monday Night Raw. So I am excited for this. Is this what really sets Javon over the top? Or is this a way to now elevate Grayson Waller and actually get him some in-ring action going forward? And I hope it's the latter. I really, really do. This is going to be a very, very intriguing match. And count me in, I want that Grayson Waller effect. Non-title match, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get the Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory versus the Usos. Does this become the path for the Vision to go to WrestleMania? Do they pick up a victory to then get themselves a tag team championship match at WrestleMania? Do we see the Masked Men and Seth Rollins interfere on behalf of the Usos to cost them? Do we see LA Knight come out? Because he's told the Usos, yes, we're on the same page, but if we're seeing the Bloodline come back, then well, no, we're not on the same page. Very, very interesting, and a lot of combustible elements in this situation. As well, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria will take on the Kabuki Warriors. Does this determine your new contenders on the Raw side for the Women's Tag Team Championships? Or do we see Nia and Lash, the irresistible forces, and your reigning Women's Tag Team Champions show up on Raw? And I'm very, very intrigued because we know the chaos that is ensuing around the Women's Tag Team Championships on SmackDown. Does this now transcend and come to Raw to set up a massive multi-team and multi-woman match at WrestleMania for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Brock Lesnar once again slated to appear on Raw. What do he and Paul Heyman have to say about what happened with Obafemi last week? Do we get another manhandling? Obafemi is slated to appear as well. What is he going to have to say? Do we go face-to-face with these two men again? I have to say I hope so, but this time I hope it is just a verbal encounter. I don't necessarily need all of the physicality each and every week behind each and every match. Becky Lynch is going to appear as well, and she's going to explain her attack from last week on AJ Lee. Is this going to set up the direction for WrestleMania? Do we go to AJ and Becky at WrestleMania? Again, it's time to get some finality to this. So I think you need to go with that no rematch clause. And as well, both Roman Reigns and CM Punk are slated to appear. In this situation, I don't want a face-to-face in the ring. I want that behind-the-scenes, sit-down interview, or one in the ring, one appearing on screen. I don't need them getting back and close. I know that we as an audience, we eat it up. We thrive on these head games. We thrive on all of this. It gives us major, major talking points for shows much like this one. But I don't need the physicality, again, to get behind this match. I am sold on this match. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here tonight at the Locker Room Breakdown. But before I head out, ladies and gentlemen, I do want you to check out our shop.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, for the last time on this show, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And we ask you to support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters by heading over to the shop. Buy the merch. Wear what we wear, ladies and gentlemen. And all of those proceeds come back into our studios to bring you a better experience. All of this and so much more at turnbucklestudios.org, your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here at the Locker Room Breakdown tonight. Join myself and others with the Raw Patrol coming up at 8 over on Turnbuckle Studios YouTube. And we'd like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, the world is always better with you in it. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Locker Room Breakdown, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, we out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey, teams can't deny. His best friend to shut the hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number 2. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears.